Welcome back to Learning Partners. So in this video, we are going to create a to-do app in Angular, but we will be able to search and delete also, right? From adding a to-do item, then we can search and we can remove also, right? So this is a simple UI. Like if I enter something and click on add, that should get added over here. If I select particular items and click on the delete, that should be get deleted. And same with using this single search box only, if I search something, and click on the search icon, I should get the search data also, right? So three operations we can target. And one more thing is like this delete button won't be visible unless at least one checkbox is selected. So these are the all functionality we are going to try. So this is just a static code. Now we will just convert it with the Angular. So let me just show you the code. So this is just a simple HTML. I will be providing this in coming days on the GitHub, right? So now first thing we have to do is we have to create an object that will store to-do list, right? Again, one more thing, we are going to store the data into the local storage. So we are not going to use the API. It will be local storage we'll be using. This is kind of a most what we can say ask machine test scenario where you have to do the CRUD operation with local storage. So this is the best example for that. So let's create an array. Let's say to-do items any square bracket is equal to empty, right? Now we have to implement on init. So implement on init. Let's implement the ng on init function. Now we have created the array. Now this is going to be array of objects. Let's say to do item ID and to do name, something object array we are going to create. Then we are going to. So next thing we have to create an object that we will be binding with our form. So that let's say to do object any, and inside that we are going to have properties like to do ID, empty, to do text empty, right? Right. So these are the two fields we are going to have into this particular object. So let's bind this to a text box. So this is a text box, square bracket, round bracket, ng model is equal to, we can do it with the simple variable also, but we are going to delete and search. So for that, I'm creating object to do object dot to do text. Here I will bind it, right? So by default, it will be, by default, I'm initializing to do ID as 0. We will increment it once we will be saving it, right? So first, what we have done, we have created an array and we have created one single object that we have binded with our text box. Now, next thing is on click of add button. So on click of add button, we need to create a function add to do item round bracket. We need to create this function, right? So what we need to do, we are not using API, right? So we just need to store the current to do item into our array first. So this dot to do items dot push, or let's say unship. So it should be added to the top. Then we will be adding this dot to do item object, right? But while adding, we just need to increment this ID. In to do ID should be unique something. So for that, to do this dot to do item dot to do object dot to do ID, or let's say item ID, that will make more sense, is equal to, we just need to count what are the elements we have in to do items, and we just need to increment that by 1. To do item dot length plus 1, so that we will have item ID unique, right? Once we store that into the array, then we just need to store the data updated array into local storage. So local storage dot set item method we can use. set item will have two keys. First is the key and second is the value, right? So key will be ToDo list and key will be our ToDo items array. But while storing the data into the local storage, we need to convert it to the string format. So JSON dot stringify. This is the by default method provided by JavaScript. So we can use that. Inside that, we have to pass our array name. Right? So with this, what we have done, we have created a ToDo object that we have pushed into ToDo item and we have stored the ToDo items into the array. Now we have to use these ToDo items onto the li that we will use on the for loop. Let me just remove the repeated one. Right? So this is my li. Here I will be using my for loop because this is going, li should be repeated. Star ngFor equal to let item of ToDo items, right? So here I will be printing whatever the ToDo text I have used while storing item dot, because this is going to be array of object ToDo text, right? And one more thing, on the page load, we need to read the data from the local storage. So on ng on init, let me write const local data is equal to local storage dot get item. And in get item, we have to pass the key which we have used to store the data. That is ToDo list. It will goes over here. Now we need to add just an extra check, like if it is not null, not equal to null. If it is not equal to null, then we can assign it back to the ToDo item, our array. But while, if you see, while storing, we have stored that into the string format. So while retrieving, again, we need to convert it back to the array type, right? So JSON dot parse method we can use to convert the stringified array back into the array. And we have to pass this, right? So let me just add a debugger. Let's add a debugger over here also. It's always good to test your code whenever you are doing it for the first time. So just make a habit, right? If you see, we don't have any record. Okay, one more thing we can add. If we don't have any record here, we can just show like no record forms. So for that, I will use ng container. Right, so ng container is kind of an imaginary div, which we normally use in this kind of scenario. So star ngIf equal to ToDo items dot length equal to 0. If it equal to 0, then I will just copy paste this li, put it over here. And here I will say no record found. That's the static one. Items found. Right. And same ng container I will copy paste, just the condition will be vice versa. If not equal to 0, then I will use this. Right. So if I save now, so on the page load, let's see what we get. On the page load, so if you can see currently in the local storage, so application, local storage, so we don't have any ToDo items array, right? So that's why we have got null. That's why we had added that null check. So just make a habit whenever you are reading data from the local storage, so better check it with null. So if it is not null, right? So in ToDo item, we have the length 0. So if you can see, that is not visible. Let me see why. No li is visible. So first condition was ToDo list dot length equal to 0 and not equal to 0. It is not saved. Okay, here also we have used the for loop now, so for loop is not required. Now it will be visible. Continue. So you can see no ToDo items found. Now, first operation is like on click of add. So let's say meeting at 3 p.m. Right? If I click on add, you can see function got called. Now, here if you can see, if I hover on that to do object, item ID is by default empty, and to do text, I have got whatever I have typed into that text box. Now, I just need to create a dynamic ID. So you can see this dot to do item dot length was 0 plus 1. So item ID got 1. So now this object I am going to push into my array. Right? So you can see in the array, we have got item ID 1 and to do text meeting at 3 p.m. And that we are storing into the local storage. Continue. So you can see that is visible over here also. Now let's check the local storage. In the local storage, you can see it is visible. Yeah, it is visible as an array, but it is in the string format, right? So let's try to add one more. Okay. Now after adding, we should empty this, right? So after adding, we can empty that object. So this is nothing but object we can empty. So this dot to do object equal to, right? So like this we can empty. So let's save and check in now. Now, if we add now, that text box will be auto emptied. Now, if you can see on the page load in local data, we have got that, but it is in the string format. You can see it is enclosed in the double quotes. So means it is in the double quotes string format. Now we are just converting it back to the array. See, continue. So now you can see the actual to do item. We don't get to see that no items found because we have a data now. Let's add check market stats. Now on click of add, again, we will be hitting that function. Now this time in to do items, we already have one length, right? So it will be 2. So every time in item ID, you will get something once because we are just calculating the length of the existing to do item and we are incrementing that, right? So this is to do item, 2 items we have added and we have stored that into the local storage. And after that, we are just emptying the objects. So if I continue, you can see it is emptied, right? Now first task is done, like on click of add, we have done that. Now next thing is we need to show this button if we have checked at least one record. So let's write the code. So before writing that code, what we need to do, this checkbox we have to bind, this particular checkbox we have to bind. We need to bind this with the ng model. So for that, square bracket, round bracket, ng model equal to item dot is checked. I know we don't have this property in the item object, but we can declare it at the front end only because object, we can add any number of properties anytime, right? So that is the same concept we are going to use here. So let's save and check it now. Okay. So now if I checked second two items, let me adjust the debugger and on click of add. So if you see in to-do items, second value is true, third value is true, fourth value is false, and in first also you get value as false. So whatever the checked item we have into that object, each checked value is true, right? So now what we have to do, we just have to write a check, like if in array, if any of the object is having checked value as true, then we need to show that button, otherwise hide, right? So for that, let's create a function is checked box checked, right? Here we will write simply query const is or check count is equal to. So what we are going to do, we are going to filter this array. So this dot to item dot filter lambda expression just to write the query is checked equal to true dot length we are going to use. Then simply if condition if checked count equal to 0, then we will simply return true, else we will return false. So this is a function which is just checking if we have any checked item into the to-do array. Then if we don't have anything, we are returning true, right? So if we have any, then we are returning false. So if it is 0, if it is when we have to show that, let's reverse that. If it is not equal to 0 means we have something, then we will be returning true. So we can use this on the delete button, right? So star ngIf equal to, we will be calling that function over here directly. That is a function, so we have to add the round bracket. So now if I save, let's see if it works properly. See, okay, so in the local storage we have got that. So if you can see, I checked at least one row, you can see that ready button is visible. So this is because of that function, right? Now what we need to do, we need to on click of delete, we need to delete the checked item, right? So let's write the event also over here. Click delete checked items. Let's create this function. So now we already know like these are the items we have which are checked, right? So let's copy this, let it put over here. We don't need the length because we are going to need the list. Now we can just use the for loop because we are going to remove multiple elements. Right, I will be using array on this dot length, and what I have to do, I just have to slice those, right? So from this array dot splice, index will be this. Wait, because we have the ID now, so we can just write the ID. First array will be on this element. We don't need this, we can just simply use array on this to-do items, and here we will add the condition. Let me just remove this. If this dot to-do items square bracket index dot check property is true. So index dot check equal to true. If it is true, then we can just remove it using slice method. So this dot splice, and for splice we need to specify two properties. First is the index and up to how much element we need to remove. So index will be this only, right? And how many records we need to remove? So one. So let's click on save and let's check it out. So currently we have, let me just remove first three. On click of delete, you can see those are removed. One was not removed. Why? Let me check it. Okay, so we are using the for loop on the same array, and we are removing also. So the indexing will get affected. So that's why let's store the checked array into another variable, and let's use the for loop on that. So check count, instead of check count, it will be checked record, and we will use for loop on, wait, this will, okay, so first for loop we will use on the checked record. So instead of this, it will be here. And what we need to do, like we need to find the index. So constant checked record is equal to, from to do our actual array, we need to find index with the condition m dot id, right? So we have the item id equal to check record slash index dot item id, right? So we will get the index of that. I will debug this code so that you can understand. Then this check record I will be removing. So this will go over here, and instead of index, it will be now checked record. So let me save. Right. So let me just uncheck all. Let's just check first to record and on click of delete. So in checked record, you can see we have got two records only, because only two records we have selected. Now we are using for loop on that. Now from our actual array, we have to find the index of that first record. So as you can see 0 we have got removed. Then second, that is second record is item ID 5. So you can see index, why we are getting 0 only. Over is having 0. Okay, because first record got deleted again, so we have got the index 0 only. So if you can see, we have got deleted, right? If I click on delete, right? So these, whatever the checked items we have, those are getting deleted. But after delete, we need to update the local storage data also, right? So for that, again, same line. This is the same line which we are going to use. So after deleting from the array, we are just going to refresh the local data. So let's see. Now, if I delete and if I refresh again, we won't be able to see that data, because after delete, we have again stored the latest array into the local storage, right? So next task is remaining like on click of search, we need to just filter it out the data. So whenever we are doing the client side filtering now, we need two array. First is the actual and one is the filtered. So filtered items colon any square bracket is equal to square bracket. Now on the front end, we need to use this variable instead of the actual array. So here it will be this and this, right? So whenever we are doing on the client side, whenever we are doing the searching, we need to create two variables. One is the actual, and one is where we have stored the filtered item, right? So on the page load also, we need to store in both the places, in ToDo items also and the filtered list also. So this dot filter ToDo list is equal to, we can use this only because here also we have got the data, right? Now we need to create a filter method. So on filter. So filter is like using simple filter method, we can write our code. So const filter data is equal to this dot. We will be filtering out from the actual array. So that is ToDo items dot filter, right? M equal to M dot. We will be comparing. We will be filtering with ToDo item text. So ToDo item text dot start with. Now we already have the object which is binded to this text box. So we are going to use the same. So we will compare with this dot to item dot text, right? And here we will add just a condition. If filter data, if we have some records, so dot length not equal to 0, then only we will assign found record, filtered record to our variable, that is filter data is equal to filter data, right? If not, else we need to assign the whole data. Okay, now so this will be in case of if, because if we have the checkbox text box empty, then only I think we don't need that. If filter data, yeah, we will need that is equal to empty. Then we need to assign this dot filter data with this dot to do list, because if text box is empty while searching, if we remove everything, then it will go to the else block because we haven't got any record into the filter data. So we need to assign all the items again back to the filtered item. Now we need to call this function on ng model changes because we have bind this text box with the ng model. So event we will be using is ng model change, and we have to call this function. Let's check if it is working properly, or we have to pass that data. So if I search meeting, if I click away, no. So we have a search icon. So let's on click of it. Let's debug. Might not be working properly. So let's debug. File save all. Right. So if I have meeting typed, and if I click on search, why this function is not getting called? Here on bracket is there. Let's see. Now if I meeting, if I click on search, you can see now in to-do item we have the text. So let's F10. Okay, we are getting some. I got to do start with. Okay, so I think start W should be capital. Let's click on search. No, still it is start with is not a function. Why it is saying start with is not a function? Let's try again in console. Start filter. I'm going to write the same on console dot ToDo text dot start with. Let me search JavaScript array filter with start with. Correct only. Filter. Okay, it is starts with. So S was missing. Let's search now. MWT. If I click on search, you can see it is there. But now if I remove and if I search again, but this is not good. If I am searching, as soon as I search, I should see this filtered record. So for that, we can use ng model change. So instead of this, I will use the same thing on the text box only, and the event will be ng model change, right? So let's see if it is working properly now. So MWE meeting, no, it is not. So we have to send the event, right? And on filter also, we need to get the update data. So this will be search here, colon string. Now, instead of that variable, we will pass the parameter. Let's click on save. MWE See, right? If I remove, it is getting removed. But one more flaw is there. If I search with small case, now it is not searching. So let's just do that also. So before searching, we need to convert it to lower case. And same thing over here also. Let's see. See, now it is searching with lowercase also, right? Let's start. Okay. So this is what we have done. Now we don't need this search icon. So let's just remove that because on the text box only we have done that. So things we have done is like we are able to create the new to-do item. We can remove also. Plus this remove delete button is only visible if at least a checkbox is checked, and on the searching we are able to search also, right? So many operations we have done in this to-do item. So this will bring out your best result. Whenever someone asks you to create the to-do app, just don't do the simple one. Try to do the remove also, the checkbox thing, and searching also. So this will showcase your programming skill. So hope you have liked the video. In the next video, I'll be coming with one more interesting logical scenario. Till then, please do subscribe and like my videos.